Doing quite a bit of.
Let me in here.
This must be set day. This your set day.
Okay, we are rolling there, and then we're rolling there. And I'm gonna do a. Of course, I'm not ready to get coffee.
Father God.
Call on it. 3, 2, 1.
You gonna slap your hands together?
I've already slapped my hands together.
Okay, do it again. Ta-da!
3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to our Lions, Tigers, and Votes Oh My episode.
That's right. I like that. It is that time of year. It's certainly voting season here in the United States of the Americas, and I think it's been an interesting voting season so far.
Interesting is an interesting choice of words. I mean, I think that's a very tame way of saying it. It's more like the Hunger Games.
I tell you what, and I think if people must vote as if we will return to the Hunger Games if they don't.
Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, I think one of the things about the voting thing that's been really funny to me is how much people have accepted waiting in line for 12 hours to vote. Not accepted it, but
except that there have been full-on videos of people with chairs, snacks. It's going down. Did you see the video of the people in Philly?
Dancing. But I'm saying, though, we shouldn't make that normal, because it's not.
I mean, it's normal in America.
But it should not be normal in America that you have to wait for 12 hours to vote in an election. It
should not. I mean, it's the hypocrisy of the very notion that we're this super advanced country who can do practically, I mean, you can literally say something you want. I could probably get you like a tech missile or something from Amazon right now, dropped off with a drone, but try to go vote.
Well, that's why it leads me to believe that it's not by accident. And I think a lot of things in this country were intentionally put in place, and I do believe that the obstacles that people are facing to cast their vote in this election are also intentionally done.
By design, friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also, I guess another thing I was thinking about earlier is that, Amy...
I think it's Barrett Cohen.
Amy Barrett Cohen. I don't know what it is. Say it again.
I think Cohen.
Okay. I'm doing the same way they do Kamala. I'm trying to do that same way.
No, we're not going to do that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I mean, you can do it on your side of the table.
When they go low, we go high.
Not necessarily, but I mean, a name is what a name is. You know what I've been through in terms of people getting my name wrong.
Sure. You're right.
I mean, what you guys know of my name is simple enough, but
yeah. But I guess my point is that as of tonight, I think the Senate voted and she was confirmed 52 to 48. So she will be seated on the Supreme Court, and it pains me to know that this administration has been able to place 3 lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but everyone's counting 3 when there's been over 200. Over 200 appointments. And if you've seen that Netflix documentary called The Family, I mean, that's a huge deal. We're talking about, I think there's been no African Americans, maybe one person Asian ethnicity, and one person that was, I guess, some sort of background Latino, but everyone else is probably a white female, or the majority of them were white males. And then there has been several reports done that pretty much discuss the lack of diversity in his judge appointments, and how it's been, I guess, the worst in the past 30 years. Sure. Like literally.
Well, I guess that's one thing you always point out too, is that voting really matters, not just because of the people you elect, but because of the people you elect and those people put in place.
Absolutely. It's not. It's this. I think people see everything in terms of like, oh, the president, and then they totally ignore that in order for democracy to work, it must exist as this living, breathing thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we live in a coral reef, and you can't. Y'all saw Finding. Did you see Finding Nemo? Okay, let me help you. You know what? I'm not gonna do that because that's the sort of cliff dive that I normally do.
Cliff dive and rabbit hole.
And I'm not gonna do that. But it's like, yes, everything is tied to another thing. Every person is tied to another person, but the politicians must be tied to their policies.
Sure, and that's the thing that I think about voting, that people don't always equate. Sure, we rally and we go out and vote, we turn out in big numbers, but after November 3rd, what happens then? That's to me is when the real work starts to really
because the whole
get policies
purpose
and programs
right.
put together that change laws and enact things that make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are quick to be like, well, I don't like this and they do, and that whole other side of the table thing, and politics has gotten. I say politics in a very general manner, but the extremism of the distance has grown, and I also watched kind of like a mini short that was done by this guy who has he typically does research based in just that, to see where the extremism is, and it is literally in the Republican Party. It talks about how the further the progression goes, the further back they go to the Southern strategy of basically just using racial dog whistles in order to shore up their base.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading lately about Reconstruction, and I always bring up to you how after the Civil War we went through this period called Reconstruction, where the Southern states had to reconstruct themselves back into the Union. So there were a lot of things that happened for African Americans during that time that was really progressive and really forward thinking. I think South Carolina sent more African Americans to the House of Representatives than any time before. And African Americans got the right to vote. We started public schools, and there were tons of these really great progressive moments. But then we got back into Jim Crow's, where a lot of those things were, and the Union armies left the South, and a lot of those things, and people who were in power got back into power. And so I think you make a great point. Is as the more we progress, some people on the other side regress. To make it more of a point to get back to where we used to be. Well,
because you have the notion of humanity and the idea of, okay, well, what's best for all of us? It's almost like being at camp, and people are like, oh, well, what do we all need? And then you have the people that are like, there's 2 buckets of clean water and I want both of them.
Well, and I think you say people, and I think one of the problems too is we dance around this idea of what we mean by that, and I just got
racist.
Yeah, I mean
the racist.
Yeah, I just got finished reading that book, Caste by Isabella Wickelson, and it speaks about this caste system in America, and it's intentionally put into place to keep everybody in place.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that the policies and the electoral college and these things that we do in America happen is because it was intentionally put in that place to keep people in place.
Yeah.
And when people try to break out of those places, things get out of whack. And I think Obama was a perfect example of, there was never a point in America where I think a person from the lower caste, which is the black people, was going to be a president.
Right.
And so when that happened, it was amazing to everyone. And I think
everybody was like, Q, we are the world. And they were like, whoa, I want my 2 buckets of water.
Right. And that's how we ended up with Donald Trump.
Basically, regression.
Right. In the highest form.
Yes.
I always say Obama was kind of the best of us, I think, of people of America. What we supposed to stand for.
And Cipollini is the garbage pail kid of politics.
Yeah, I always say, we've had him for almost 4 years now, and it's amazing to me how things have not changed with him. And not to say that I expected anything better. Well, it's funny
because you have the people that feel like, I thought at some point he'd be more presidential.
Sure.
How?
Right.
How?
Right.
But I guess that's just you know, a lot of people are optimistic. I'll give them that. I'll be like, okay,
yeah,
well,
me too.
maybe they thought he was gonna shape up a little, but I'm like, you know, when you have someone who gets away with whatever it is that they want, it just basically makes them even more bold, even more brazen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think, in terms of politics, in terms of the GOP itself, in terms of the Republican Party, I honestly don't think they really like him, but it works to their advantage because he is peddling what they sell. It's racism. So even though they might find him to be ignorant and disgusting and a whole bunch of other things, it works for their benefit because it's the same base.
Sure.
It's the same base, and it gives them the same result. It gives them an actually even better result by him being the face of peddling it in such a disgusting manner to the rest of us. It appalls us, but they don't care.
Yeah, as I was like, have you no shame? Like, you know, the emperor has no clothes. You know, at some point, it's like, you know, how far can he push the envelope?
Yeah.
Until somebody says, you know what, we can't support this, even though he's part of our party. You know, but I think there are a lot of single issue voters too. You know, abortion's a big issue for some evangelical Republicans.
Oh, honey, the way they love climbing into the uterus.
You know, Second Amendment rights are a big issue, and so it's you know, it's almost like you take what he gives.
They want my uterus and their gun. They want control of my uterus.
That should be a title of a book.
They want control of my uterus and their gun at the same time. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and like I said, it's how much stuff can you stomach in order to get what you want. And I just think, you know, sometimes, like you said, you know, how do you reconcile that for the best of what's for
because
humanity?
You can hide. The one thing about America that is I won't say hilarious, but the idea that in a place that's systemically racist, the burden of proof when you call someone a racist is impossible unless they called you the N-word.
Sure.
On camera.
Sure.
In front of people.
Right.
They can do a million things, discriminate against you. As soon as you say you're a racist, my God.
Yeah.
I am he said he was the least racist person in the entire room, and he couldn't even see the room, baby. He didn't even need to know who was in there. It was him who was the least racist person in the room. And being able to say that, because you can't prove racism to people who will peddle it and refute it at the same time. It's like fighting a ghost.
Yeah, I'm always astounded when people claim themselves to be the least or the best of anything, especially racism. There was a black lady moderating that debate that he said that in.
Yeah, but he's the least racist person in the room.
That's amazing.
He don't care who in there.
Yeah. And speaking of the debate, I thought she did a pretty good job moderating that debate. Debates have been kind of hit or miss. I mean, you know.
At this point, it's not. You can argue the whole idea of, you know, are you for fracking or against fracking? Are you for solar or against solar? What do you think about windmills?
I think the idea that there are people out there aren't deciding who they're going to vote for, I think, is also probably not a really good idea.
Joe Biden could climb on that stage with the entire Sesame Street gang, and they could pull out some paper and give me some ABCs and 1, 2, 3s as policy, and I'm going with Big Bird. You understand me?
Well, I mean, like I said, I employed by PBS, and I love PBS, and I think we do a great work. So I understand that.
Yes.
You know,
and Elmo, whatever he wrote down, I'm with that.
Yeah. I just think the country is certainly in a very strange place. And people always say politics, and I always say, well, politics are one thing, but morals, morality are another.
Exactly.
And you know how we're seen on the world stage, how people respect the United States, and that's changed since Obama's been out of office.
It's like that changed, and then there's still the whole idea of like, for me, knowing that so many people are even more beholden to make America great again, because they feel like Black Lives Matter is a a racist saying and a terrorist organization, to me that says a lot about just how against equality they are. Like, the very notion of equal drives people to this level. Like,
well, and to get back to the voting aspect of it, I do believe people are energized to go out and vote. I think COVID and having people having to pause and think about things and see things has got people really excited about vote. I hope we get have a really great turnout. I do believe numbers. I think the more people that turn out, it certainly favors the Democrats. I think Jamie Harrison,
vote Jamie Harrison. Send Lindsey Graham home.
No, he's got a good shot, and I think it's probably for the first time in a long time in South Carolina that there's actually a chance that we can send a Democrat to the Senate, right? Senate seat.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible.
It's like this. Even if you take out the blue and the red and the Democrat or the Republican, what is Lindsey Graham doing other than shining Cheetolini shoes?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I'm like, you didn't have time for town halls. Even Tim Scott, Tim Scott did opportunity zones, but I'm like, sir, they've been fully hijacked for gentrification.
Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely.
And if no matter what you do, until you address the systemic racism and discrimination that people face in every program you create, then it's almost like a total wash. And right now, that's where we are. We are in a moment where people have said, listen, there's already been social programs created. We already had the civil rights movement. We're going to call a spade, and we're going to work on the systemic racism in order to make some true progress. And it's almost like they decided to just swing all the pieces off the table because no one wants to deal with that.
Yeah, but I think this election, I think, can really be a watershed moment for people. And I think if we can elect people that can get these policies enacted to do things that change things, we could be in good shape.
Absolutely, because I'm like, I know people keep saying, "Oh, but the economy. What about it? What about the economy? Is there still to rant and rave about?" I'm like, most people are at home. It outside of South Carolina, maybe, but I'm like, we live in a state that's pure, that's mostly service jobs, public schools. They don't give state employees a raise. They haven't given the teachers a raise. They want to send everyone back. We got bus shortages. We got school teacher shortages. We got staff shortages.
We're saying that, I'll get back to your favorite governor.
Henry.
And I think that's the thing that I've been trying to really impress upon people is that most politics really should be local. Most politics are local. The president certainly is important, on a national stage, but we really need to be vested in, like I said, our city council seats, our school board seats, like I said, our DAs, our judges and sheriffs, because those people have a tangible, immediate effect on your life.
Henry tried to give $35 million
the private schools?
To private schools. Yeah. $35 million from the CARES Act, but you can't manage to give the teachers a raise. I'm like, and especially in a situation like this, I'm like, they did so much trying to force everyone back to the building that they did very little to actually provide safety for one, but internet service, the things that were actually even necessary to do online hybrid learning, but just the idea that we live in a place that's largely rural, that has so many, like manufacturing jobs, they have the work keys and all that sort of stuff, but they do it's less than the bare minimum. They do less than the bare minimum to actually educate people. We're a right to work state. They don't really want to pay you. And even the idea of what is a livable wage, when you get into conversations with people that believe in trickle-down economics or bootstrapping, they think that, if you don't make a lot of money, you need to get a better education.
Titus Davis and Patrick Hayes and I were in Norfolk, and we were talking about the minimum wage, and I was like, yeah, it's $7.50, I think, in South Carolina, and and you can work 80 hours a week and not make it.
And if minimum wage is so low, so if they pay you $10 or 10 or 12, then it looks like it's a lot. I think substitute teachers get 10, wow. And I'm just like, what do you think someone is supposed to do with that long term, especially when you're in a place where wage increases are typically stagnant? They just don't exist.
Sure, absolutely. And back to our teachers, I mean, I think, we have friends that are school teachers, and we have a child in school. And
right now, I would bang my hand on this table if it would not totally disrupt our podcast. Pay these teachers what they deserve. But
they are doing yeoman's work. I mean, I can't imagine having to teach and try to educate our children in these circumstances. Some of them without proper internet, some of them without proper safety protocols in classrooms. It's incredible.
They're out here trying to educate America's children in an America that is literally 50-50. So in terms of people that believe stuff like Pizzagate, we're talking about when conspiracies are thriving, when the whole notion of what is true and not true is very murky and muddled, and you don't even really have adults who are rooted in understanding of research and comprehension.
Well, I work in the media. I work in the media, and part of literacy used to be reading and writing, but now it should be media literacy, because there is so much information out there. There is so much stuff you can consume, and lots of it is not true. And lots of it is purposely not true.
Purposely not true. And when the internet first started, what did your teacher say?
If you don't know, find it on the internet.
That is not what your teacher said, and I have a problem with that, and I would like a name. Okay, they told you just because it was on the internet did not mean that it was true.
But I think that,
and that just because you could Google it did not mean that you could copy and paste it into your work and say that it was research. Just because you copied and pasted it, Xavier, did not mean that that was research.
I think now people think because you find it on the internet, it's true.
If they can see it on Facebook, it's true.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole other ballgame. I think Facebook certainly started out as something that was really to connect people, and you find friends and talk to them a long time, and it was great. It is great, but it's become more of a news source than news, and that's a problem, because what happens is you got people sharing news that aren't reporters, that aren't
it's
doing
not
research.
Even news.
But people consume it as news. Is my point. Sure, I know it's not news. You know it's not news.
They think because it's new.
But people consume it as news. They consume it
at a S.
What?
Because it's new on Facebook. That makes it news.
They consume it. They consume it as fact, and that's a problem.
And here we will have a word from our no sponsor. Memes are not news.
Yeah, no. If you're having a discussion with somebody and you are responding with memes to prove your point is not valid.
Right. Now, I will say GIFs are absolutely allowable in order to let someone know how ridiculous you think their point is.
Only if those are Kamala Harris GIFs.
Hey, whatever you like.
All right. Well, it's good to be back in the saddle, I think,
It absolutely is. I feel like there's been, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, I know we haven't really done this a whole lot. I know for me, it is a lot to take in, like that, the idea that we are in the midst of an election to choose between these two individuals. And I get it, I one of my pet peeves is I don't like neither one of them. When people say, well, I don't see a point because they're the same. Stuff like that. I'm like, those what you like to call it? When you conflate the issues on both sides.
Oh, false
as if
equivalency.
as if they're equal when they absolutely are not.
Sure. Shout out to PBS's a show they have, just a series called Above the Noise, and they did an episode on false equivalency, which is fantastic. It's almost like, I make an example of somebody says it's raining, somebody says it's not raining, and then you give both of them equal time without going outside to see if it's raining.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the what we're going to get from both of these administrations is not at all the same.
No.
And I don't care if you kind of like little Timmy and then you absolutely hate little Johnny, but y'all about to try to pick a kickball team. Look at the rest of the people that are going to be on that team, because it's a cog. It's not just one person like that. To know who may or may not be in a Joe Biden administration, to look at the people that were in the Obama administration and say, oh, good, it's a possibility that I'm going to get people who are of this sort of policy mindset, should absolutely change the game, versus somebody who wrote a whole bunch of stuff on executive orders, and then otherwise you got a bunch of blank sheets and Twitter posts, but not really any sort of policy that actually sticks and does anything to benefit us.
I'm going to give you guys the shorter version. There's a very big difference between your choices.
Absolutely.
Do not let people tell you you're voting for the lesser of two evils.
Oh my God. I don't even know who created that lesser of two evils kind of thing. I'm like, yes, I get it. As an African American person in America, the civil rights, was 1965. So if you look at it like that, it's like, okay, do I have an opportunity to vote for a candidate that I would have handpicked in this very moment? No, I do not in this very moment. However, I do have an opportunity to vote for a candidate that I believe progresses this country into a space that will allow me one day to vote for a candidate that I would handpick. But if I choose Cittadini, it's going in the opposite direction.
Well, and that's even more appropriate on a local level, on a state level. So get out and vote in your local elections.
Right. I just want to piggyback off what you're saying about local differences. The whole what happened to Breonna Taylor with the no-knock warrants. There was an article in the paper that was stating that the Supreme Court Justice, or the South Carolina, Chief Justice Beatty, was temporarily suspending no-knock warrants because you could get them, the police could get them from magistrates. And so after that happened, he basically said, no, you can no longer just go to a magistrate and get a no-knock warrant without a review. And that is something that I don't think many people know about.
Sure.
And I don't think many people even know who he is, but it's like that sort of difference in the judicial system, you know what I'm saying, is huge.
Well, speaking of even saying judicial system, I think how civics is taught in America, how laws get made and how things change is something that people don't understand either. The president's president, but Congress and Senate pass laws.
Right.
And so I think that's something that I think people get more educated about, how laws are enacted and how those people really, really affect the bottom line, not so much the person you see at the top, the president.
Yeah, we are locked into this dance of the circus right now, and it's like the spotlight's on the clown, and it's so big that the things that are happening behind the curtain that undermine democracy and undermine progress are being ignored. But Mitch McConnell, I see you, turtle. I see.
Well, and like I always say, I think intentionality is important, and I think it's intentionally being done to make people apathetic about going out to vote.
Oh, absolutely.
Involved. So don't let them do it. Don't let them make you think you don't count, because you do.
Vote for Jamie Harrison,
because you do.
Vote for Joe Cunningham. I don't even live in Kentucky, but can y'all please get rid of Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, Amy McGrath's a good candidate. And I think, so get out and just be involved. And I think, too, one thing we have to also do is always continue to engage after the fact. once the election's over, it's not over. And that's when we really dig in and we hold people accountable and we make them do what they say they're going to do. And that's one thing I think that we sometimes fall short on is after the election, we think we've done our part and we all pack it up and wait the next 4 years. But that's not the case. So get out there and stay engaged. Keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on.
I honestly, like, I get that politicians, they have a job to do, but it's like they also need to gear up the community engagement. It's almost like our lawmakers, they need to be as active as HOAs. The HOA is all in your business.
Right. That fence is too
high. Too tall. The grass needs cutting. You got to crack in your blinds. But they are there ever present. And I feel like our local politicians and your school board people, they also need to have that sort of accountability, but also that sort of responsibility to the people that elected them. Let me know that you're here. I shouldn't have to hunt you down in order to express an issue.
But if you have to hunt them down, do
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically.
For sure. So thank you guys for joining us. I think we're gonna call this thing a quit for the night. But it's really good to be back on the mic. Missed you guys. Like the Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram.
Pay teachers what they deserve.
If you got any ideas that you want to talk about, please send them in. We take requests. We call it a hit DJ.
If you feel bold enough, you want to argue with us, we're
trying to figure out a way to get people on the pod. For sure,
we'll accept that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim, nice to be back with you tonight.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you guys next time.